It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to this episode of Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill, and today we want to stir the pot. Today we decided to do a controversial Q&A. To be honest, I saw, of course, something on Instagram, another creator in a totally different field, not health and wellness at all, do a controversial Q&A, and I was like, wow, that's actually a really great idea to stimulate some important, I think, conversations around health. And I think so often people are really surprised about our viewpoints on health, especially having drifted into the functional space over all these years from bodybuilding and clean eating and all these things. And it's funny, I did a webinar last night on Hashimoto's, and I asked people right after that attended live, can you give me feedback? Can you tell me what was your thought, especially if you came in and had no idea who I was prior to this? And they were like, I was surprised at how human you were and personable, and you're just sharing very real things. And I think so often they think it's very it's very deep emotional problems that we're solving, of course, for women. But at the end of the day, I feel like I keep saying this, but it's not that serious, right? We're really just trying to make people live a healthy, long, fruitful life, right? Good quality of life. So
it's so funny because as somebody who has known you for so long, there's also this opposite side where I'm if anybody knows you personality wise, then they're surprised and wowed by how intellectual and how much you actually know at a deep, deep level in terms of here's what's going on and here's the mechanisms in the body and blah, 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 right? So it's a delight on either end of the spectrum. Go on. Let me just compliment you.
I'm really just, do you guys want to talk about me? We can keep going.
But it's a great balance. I feel like it's a great balance because, again, there's a lot of influencers out there who are just slinging stuff for marketing and then they don't know shit. And it's so frustrating to me as somebody who knows what I'm talking about. I can watch and catch it very quickly. But again, It's nice seeing somebody who has influence like you, who actually provides an excellent service and knows what they're talking about health-wise.
Try to use it for good. It's funny, I coach business coaches with content, and they're talking about how they see people who are very aggressive and you got to get your shit together and you're not following the plan. And then people who are very even keeled in the way that they present information. And they're how do I know what's most effective? I'm well, the most effective thing is to be yourself. The reason these people present so well in completely opposite ends of the spectrum is because they are being so authentically themselves. I know other people in the space personally as humans in real life, and I see the way they present content, and I'm this is so performative and gross, but they're just trying to capture attention. I get where
you can really feel that.
That's
interesting. The podcast I sent you yesterday, I never have followed this person before. But Chase Hughes is I think that's his name. Is that his name? He's he was in the Navy, but he's a behavioralist, neuroscientist guy. And that was what he was talking about was the power of influence. It's not just a confidence thing because a lot of people can fake confidence, but we sense what is real or what is authentic based on our life experience. And if that person has some sort of dissonance internally where they're I'm going to fake confident, but meanwhile, my life's falling apart and this is happening and that's happening, people pick up on that and it feels yucky to us as consumers. It actually has to come from a true place where you really did educate yourself to be able to speak on the thing. And you really do have your own nervous system in check if you're telling other people how to regulate their nervous system, or you truly do have balance, because it reads when people are preaching balance and then they're fucking obsessed with this little inch of fat on their thigh. It's okay, well, that's not healthy either, right? I feel like it's very easy. I don't know. For me, it's easy to read in other people. So it's nice knowing that everybody on our team is coming from a real place.
Well, it's funny. You and I went to, first of all, I've just thought about this. I've never met a neuroscientist or anyone in that field that I don't like, which I find so interesting. Also, there is a conference we went to. This is totally off topic, but where we heard someone who has a very large following, and She was talking about macros and nutrition and flexible dieting and all these things. And she's like, I used to be really restrictive and obsessive. And now I eat 1,800 calories a day and I live my
and that's
best
my
life.
maintenance.
So
And she
she's
works
still
out 6 days a week, and she's like 5'9".
lacks
Like she's
every
like
macro perfectly
the height-
and only eats 1,800.
the height of a supermodel. And we looked at each other like, this is such disordered
Instantly.
eating. This is
Yeah.
such disordered eating. And she has a massive following, and everybody goes to her as the nutrition guru. Like, what
And
the
we're
heck?
watching everyone listen intently while our heads snacked to the
We
side.
like looked at
immediately.
each
I'm
other like, no, don't tell people
Stop
that. And
talking.
we were like, we need to coach her.
Anyway, yeah, it is interesting how you can hear the word. And honestly, it's sad because a lot of people don't recognize it. Like there are AI videos that
And you
show
only
before and
know, you don't
afters.
know what you don't know, right? Like,
Right.
if you're in the field of something for a long time,
Which is
eventually
horrible.
if you're more educated in it, then yeah, it's sick. I do not like sitting back and watching other people's social media accounts grow when I know that I'm like, hello, have you ever yourself maintained a health without tracking? Because like, what are we teaching people? Or when people are like, oh, don't eat these fruits because they'll make you fat. It's like, no,
Also,
the majority of people's
comments on
problems-
my positive video about how, oh, you've never suffered. You don't know what struggle is. Isn't it interesting how people form those opinions based on a 30-second
looking at you like they know nothing about you or your
How
history
in
or the
God's
hardships that you have overcome.
Like I said to Jess in a text, I'm like, why do I have to like lose a leg and be miserable to give a
You have to
positive
show it. You have to
message?
show that you're a victim, or else you can't give advice because you're only 35 and you've not gone through that. It's the same as like, I don't know. Well, you'll understand once you have kids. Okay, well, I've had a kid now. Well, you'll understand once you have 2 kids. Okay, I've had 2 kids now. Well, you'll understand once something else. And it's like, okay, or I can take the things that every single person's life is hard. And you shouldn't compare to other people's lives, but you can control what you can control. So let's focus on that instead of focusing on all the stuff that we don't have opportunity in, because that's just really
Wild.
Like,
wild
it's just
in
not
the social
productive.
media world. But I
Anyway,
remind
this is
myself
off topic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I try to remind myself that the more good that I put out into the world and the more that my account hopefully grows, that I am subjecting myself to that in the comments, and I have to get
scrutiny a
over
little
it.
bit.
It's funny. I'm not triggered by like people are like,
Yeah.
her face is so frozen it doesn't move. I'm like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm so offended. That was literally my fucking goal when I went to the office. I'm not offended by those things. I'm offended when people attack me like character, saying something is not real. You don't know what you're talking. Like that's when I get feisty in my comments. Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, controversial.
So, okay, controversial. This is actually my specialty because I am the queen of the devil's advocate. Like, I don't care if I agree with you or not, but if you come at me with an opinion and you if you come at me wanting my opinion, I'm going to walk you through both sides because I think it's important seeing everything from both angles. And I think a lot of times people assume they know what our thoughts are on something because we've given one side of the context, but we haven't said it in regards to a specific person's life. Like I'm writing cardio programs for some clients. So I'm like, hello, we need to increase your cardio capacity. Other people, I'm like, yo, pull back the running. What are you doing? This does not align with your goals. Somebody sees that and is like, she's anti-running. She cares nothing about heart health. And I'm like, no, there's nuance to every single thing and every individual and every client that we coach. So I think that this is fun because we get to walk through pros, cons, whole picture thing. So controversial Q&A. We have like 40 different questions here. It's going to take way too long. So we're probably going to do like maybe 10 at a time, and we'll break this into episodes and do like 10 per episode, perhaps. We'll see how long it takes.
Yeah, we'll see what the vibe is and what kind of pot we like to stir along the way. First question, is health earned or created?
Both.
Can someone think their way into health through education?
You have to. There has to be action. And that's a big problem, I think, with social media is there might be a million snippets of good information, but information is not the problem. If people had an information problem, everybody would be fit and healthy. We're consuming, and nobody's acting. And it's like, I'll wait until I feel motivated. Or they're taking action in the things that are easiest for them, not the things they actually should change that would make the biggest difference. So I think it is created, but I also think it's earned through your inputs, right? Like I don't know. If you look at somebody
I
who's
think
fit and
you need
healthy,
to
it's
earn fat loss and physique change. I think you create health. I don't think you have to earn health. I think that you like you said, you have to do every day, right? It does require you to show up and take action, but I don't think you have to earn it. I think people complicate health. I do think you have to earn fat loss because you don't get to just double down and ask your body to do something that is stressful and demanding when you've never given it the proper resources to
well, I think those
thrive.
go hand in hand. I think earn and create go hand in hand. Like you said, you could create health, but you don't have to earn health. Well, the people who are most healthy get up and move more. They add fruits and vegetables and things to their plate, even when they're not craving them, because they know they're nourishing. That is them earning it through their inputs. They're making different choices than the person who is not yielding those same outcomes. So I think it's still earning it. It doesn't mean you need to suffer along the way, but you have to make choices that align with the outcomes that you want. You can't just think it into existence, which a lot of people pay us good money hoping that things are going to change without actually changing their actions. And it's like they want a miracle because we are working with them. And it's like, hello, we're coming up with a really reasonable plan. I can meet you where you are, but you can't expect the same outcomes if you don't
Yeah,
change anything, right?
absolutely. Are women more stressed than ever, or are they just less resilient than previous generations?
Are women?
Hot take.
Both. We have more stimulus coming in all the time. So we're expected to respond to texts from different friends and family members and social media. And there's news coming at us from every angle, which is very overwhelming. And we have screens in front of us and TVs. So I think we're more stressed than ever because if all those things were removed, we would just have to be present in whatever our actual life is.
Mhm.
Also, I think we're less resilient because we're not taking care of our nervous system or doing the healthy things that make our cup bigger to handle stress capacity.
Yeah, I think it kind of follows. I think the lack of resilience stems from being more stressed and being more stimulated because we are in this fast-paced techie environment. And I think because of the added stress, and it's not like we're more stressed with work and life, like we've all been working. 40-hour work week has been around for a while. I think that it is so fast paced and we are looking for stimulation around the clock through screens, through TikTok, through entertainment, through Netflix, right? We don't even have TV with commercials anymore. I was just trying to explain this to my 13-year-old the other day that we used to have to sit through like 2 to 3 minutes of commercials for the show, right? If you wanted food, if you had to go to the bathroom, if you wanted to make popcorn, you would wait for a commercial break, you would go make the popcorn and you would hurry, run back to the couch to watch your show. There was no pause, play, rewind, save it for later, DVR, whatever. It's funny. It's those little things. But I think because we're so stimulated all the time that now that has created this environment where there's less resilience because our stress bucket just keeps getting filled. Whereas there
And
used to be more of a balance, I think.
and this is like more related to instant gratification than stress resilience, I guess. But also, like you just said, there's everything is on demand. And Amazon boxes arrive to our house like that. And we can connect with somebody across the world without having to really work really hard for like all these things happen. And it creates these unrealistic expectations where we think everything should just move swimmingly without actually changing or working towards becoming less stressed. Again, I'm always tying it to the inputs, but like we're expecting instant gratification for things that take time.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I think millennials relate to this so heavily where we like mourn the loss of a version of life that doesn't exist anymore, right? Like I think millennial generation specifically has experienced and,
Both.
and
Yeah.
and endured the creation of this lifestyle that we live now, whereas we grew up running around under the streetlights with, my cell phone. I played Snake on my Nokia when I was bored, right? Like that was the level of stimulation that we had, which I probably just aged myself a little bit there. But it's interesting to have experienced both sides of that. And it is so there's always a level of nostalgia for every generation, but looking back, it's so interesting the way that we connected with each other as humans through like childhood and high school years to now is it's kind of sad, honestly, the lack of connection. It really makes me like crave community and like creating that for people. And I think it's so cool, the people who run retreats like you have. Emily runs these yoga retreats. I think it's so cool to like bring people back to their body and back to connection, because that's really what breeds the best health outcomes and quality of life, in my opinion. And what I think we're lacking as a society right now. So I think that contributes obviously to both higher stress and lack of resilience. That's that.
The next one. If a client follows the plan perfectly and doesn't get results, who owns that failure? The coach, the client, the complexity of their body? Where does the responsibility actually stop? This is interesting because it depends on the case, and it depends on the inputs, and it depends on how well the coach is doing. In every case, I think back to, could I have communicated it better? Could I have, like, again, personally, I own the failure as the coach, because if they are not doing the actions or to yield the results, I need to at least set expectations that, okay, this is the pathway we're now on. Are you okay with that outcome? And if expectations are managed and then results don't come, okay, everybody's at least on the same page. I have clients who are very happy, who are like, well, I'm not ready to change my inputs yet. Okay, cool. Tell me when you are. Tell me what we can change. We'll inch our way there, right? Now, if a client follows the plan perfectly and doesn't get results, okay, the coach maybe needs to shift the plan, right? Are there cases? There's a couple there's maybe literally two cases I can think of where the client didn't get results following the plan perfectly. And then it was a matter of, okay, I need to escalate or I need to network and find a specialist who is good at this particular thing that is not in my area of expertise, right? So I think it's also the coach knowing what is in their scope and knowing what they are capable of. Does that make sense? Again, I think almost every single time, if the client follows the plan perfectly, I get them pretty great results, quite frankly.
So I have a gut reaction in response to this question, but then I think about, and I do not think I am the best. Maybe I do a little bit.
We're pretty good coaches.
In the world.
We're pretty great. We're pretty great. And
I'm trying to stay humble, okay?
We're pretty good at what we do.
So I have a response based on me and feel.
And I know you listen to our podcast, Jordan. Jordan, you know who you are. And again, I'm like, man, we got to dig deeper because her body isn't responding and she's doing the work, right? It's very rare where I have a client like that where I'm like, all right, we got to figure this out because something is going on here and there's a disconnect. Or it's something more advanced, like a client has a specific autoimmune thing that is downregulating their body. Okay, now we need to partner with their doctor, or we need to partner, like now we need to take it to another level and we need to do something outside of our scope. And oftentimes we collaborate and it's very cool to see change, but sometimes those are the cases where change is slower because somebody has some underlying wild thing or Lyme's disease or whatever the other things are, right?
So I have an answer that, like, again, for like our skill set and the way we do things, I know there are much less experienced coaches out there that you just don't know what you don't know, right? It doesn't mean they're bad. I'm sure there are horrible coaches out there. I mean, I know there are horrible coaches out there, but I think that what it comes down to is when we talk about if a client follows a plan and doesn't get results, the thing that screams to me the most in this scenario is, what is the result? What was the timeline expected to get said result?
Expectations,
and how was that communicated among the coach and client relationship? Because we have clients that come in and say, I want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days when they've been dieting their entire adult life. Our job is to then say, hey, that's actually not going to happen without significantly sacrificing your health in the name of a scale number. So we kind of evolve that thought process of like, here's what this actually looks like. So Jess and I were just talking about this recently where like, we have clients that gets way slower results than what they told us they wanted to come in and get. But there's this evolution of the person and they're adopting lifestyle changes that will last them forever. And that result will eventually come. But there are some people that their result in their head is either unrealistic, which it's our job to manage those expectations and communicate and say, hey, if you want this result, it's realistic, but this is what is required of you. the result is realistic. Is what it takes to get there realistic for you and your life, and for you to execute over the course of the next however many months, right? So this is a very
And we're
vague
perfectly
answer, I feel
okay.
like. Yeah.
But we're perfectly okay with a client saying, yeah, that's not, I'll use myself as an example, right? I used to have like pretty visible abs for for a period of time in my life. Right now, I am not willing to do the inputs to achieve that outcome. And that's okay. I'm good with that. I don't want that lifestyle that requires, right? So a lot of times it's shifting our expectations with our clients and saying, well, here's what's realistic based on your inputs. If you want those kind of outcomes, one, maybe it's impossible, right? Maybe you can't achieve those kind of outcomes in only 6 months because here's your dieting history and here's this and here's that. And we really need to spend more time building up your body's resilience or your metabolism first, right? Maybe the answer is, hey, that's really not realistic. And as you hired me as an expert, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not going to BS you so that I can sell you something and then get you not the results you want. I'm going to be honest with you. But then it's meeting that client where they are and, okay, cool. We're going to focus on these inputs then. And here's the realistic outcomes. How's that feel for you? Well, it doesn't feel good. Okay. Are you ready to reevaluate the inputs? Not really. Okay, cool. Then we're on the same page, right? It's so much about setting appropriate expectations.
Yeah. That's really it. As, at the end of the day, expectation, like I have a client who came in who wanted physique change, but also SIBO. And the SIBO, I mean, we've been at it for a year and she's finally to the other side, putting that in air quotes, the other side of this long journey that she's battled through other providers. And now we are really nitty gritty looking at her lifts and we're talking about weights. Whereas like that was not center stage for a long time because her symptoms were needed to be managed and the protocol was so heavily manipulated that we were lifting and we were programming effectively, but it just wasn't center stage to like really drive the physique change that she wanted because I also had to manage stress on her body and recovery on her body. So like I wasn't programming for the sake of physique development when her recovery was like,
we can't drive to two states at the same time in opposite directions, but we can hit both goals eventually at different
she's loving
times,
life now, right? She feels good. She's like, physique, let's go. So she came in for a result of, I want body, like it's funny if you look at her intake, but we've had clear communication. She knows why we adjusted and dragged things out where we needed to. And so
at every
conversation, the result. And it's about also giving it enough time.
Yeah. And anytime that happens, we have the conversation with the client of like, okay, you're telling me these symptoms that are pretty big red flags from your body. Are you ready to shift course from your physique goal? Because now you're talking to me about these underlying symptoms that are bigger. And again, some of those things do go hand in hand. We're still trying to nourish. We're still trying to add muscle. We're not like just super dieting clients, but we're not going to diet a client and be focused on weight loss if they have all these other things going on. And sometimes it's a tough conversation because they say, yeah, I want to fix my hormones or I want to fix and then 2 months into that process, they're like, well, I still feel the same in my old jeans and I don't feel comfortable. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to loop back around to this conversation because you told me that this is the priority. So sometimes you have to figure out, okay, what's your actual priority? Now we need to stay the course if we want to see that thing repair. I also kind of want to spin off from this question. So if a client follows the plan perfectly and doesn't get results, who owns the failure? I also have clients, again, I think this client is going to be like, I know you're talking about me, who do follow the plan perfectly. And if the scale fluctuates 1 week, it's like, we need to change the plan. And I'm like, no. You don't need to worry about the outcomes. That's my job. My job is to make sure the plan is excellent. Your job is to follow the plan, which you are doing a great job with. So I need you to relax and keep following the plan because I can see all these factors of why your scale fluctuated 2 pounds. You do not need to worry about changing the plan. If you knew what to do in terms of the plan changes, honestly, you wouldn't need me, right? Like, so if you have a very good coach, let the coach stress about the outcomes. We probably aren't stressed if we're doing our job right. Right. But let the coach hold that weight of my job's to get you the outcomes. I promise you. I wouldn't have the retention that I have. I wouldn't be good at my job for as long as I have been if I wasn't good at producing outcomes. However, I need you to follow the inputs because if you're not doing the plan does not need to change. You need to do the plan. Again, the client who she knows I'm talking about her is executing the plan perfectly. Good. You don't need to change a thing. You keep going.
Yeah. Funny that you say that. I have a client who's been putting this in air quotes in a deficit for a while. And heavy social life, heavy travel. Every week it was like, well, this came up, this came up. And I'm like, that's fine, but we're not going to get what we want. So in her head, she's been dieting for 5 months. In my head, she's never started dieting, right? Which I've communicated to her. So she was like, this is the week I'm going to lock in. She locks in, checks in, scales the same. Mental breakdown, right? I did everything perfectly. I was like, yo, you were consistent for 1 week, relax, miss, like eat a salad and now I'm healthy, right? It doesn't work that way. I know you feel like you've been trying really hard, but you haven't actually executed the deficit yet this whole time. And she was like, oh my God, you're right. How silly for me to be in a tizzy right now when
it's been a week.
I haven't earned any of these results, right? So managing expectations, right? She's like, I'm good. I'm back to the plan. Talk to you next week. Like, see you later. Thanks for your help, right? Like, good. That is managing expectations. So that's the difference about, getting results is relative to that.
Yeah. Okay, so is the biggest threat my answer is going to be all of them for every single question, it looks like. Yeah. We have not reviewed these before this call, by the way. These are our gut instincts. Is the biggest threat to women's health obesity or loss of muscle mass? I'm going to say both. But I think the biggest threat at this time is loss of muscle mass because of Ozempic. People are now, whether obese or whether losing weight and at a healthy weight, they're losing muscle because now there's these convenient ways to lose weight, and all they care about, I say it matters to feel good in your skin. I want women to feel good in their skin. I don't want it to be at the expense of health. So when people are utilizing GLPs as tools to get skinny or to fit their clothes size without also having the healthy inputs that will keep you living a long time, you are doing yourself a disservice and you will be not healthy for a different reason. Okay. So if you're super under eating and you're not strength training and you're not eating protein because now you're taking too high of a dose of this stuff anyway through insurance, which is a whole nother conversation, you're nauseous. Okay, then when your hair starts falling out and you lose your cycle and you have SIBO because your motility slows down, that's not because of the GLP-1s. That's because you are malnourished. That same thing happens to bodybuilders who have been way dieting for too long, or to teenage anorexic women. Unfortunately, those are horrible, horrible side effects of not getting enough vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and they're terrible red flags, meaning you've gone too far in your pursuit of only losing weight, and you're sacrificing your health for weight loss if you're seeing things like that happen.
Yep, absolutely. So I think I'm going to have probably a slightly different answer because I worked in cardiology for so long. Mm-hmm. I watched the rapid development of comorbidities through obese patients versus non-obese patients. Non-obese doesn't mean healthier, also, by the way, just to be clear. But the comorbidities that come with obesity, I think it is such a rapid decline and such a high risk of health problems that come with that from a cardiology standpoint that...
Okay, so you're thinking cardiology, but what about when they turn 60 and they break a bone? Once you break a bone, your risk of dying is like 70% in the hospital or something nuts.
Absolutely. I think that's a major problem. But I also think that I have seen what the inside of an artery looks like in an obese person. I have seen a bypass surgery or somebody fucking died that was a smoker with atrial fibrillation, right? Like I have seen those things. So I think that, yes, there are major problems. Both of them, obviously, we know there's not really one more significant than the other. I think that obesity and the comorbidities that come with them create a faster decline in your health.
At least a younger decline.
Yeah.
At least a younger decline. I'm terrified for our generation right now, who is our age,
starving,
who look like my grandmother who passed away in her late 80s, who looked so frail you could see her skeletons, right? Like, when 10 years from now, these women are going to be reaching out to us because they're going to have so many other endocrine issues going on. And then 20 years from now, what happened? Like, you're getting osteoporosis when you're 43. Like, that's my fear of this group that we're seeing come up right now. But I don't think we're seeing the terrible outcomes yet because it's an age related thing when people start to then lose coordination or trip or whatever, right? Then that frailty or that osteoporosis starts to become more visible. So I see what you're saying. I think from the obesity standpoint, it's a younger, you might face more quality of life issues or health issues younger, more imminent. Whereas I think the other one is going to come bite you in the ass in 10 years. And you're going to be like, I don't know why my metabolism sucks and why all these health issues are suddenly popping up. Just because you're thin does not mean you're healthy.
Right. I mean,
and that is not a judgment. That's like, I really genuinely care about women's health. And it makes me so sad because people think that being thin makes them healthy. So that's what I mean. I don't mean that as a judgment. I want every woman to feel comfortable in their body. I'm glad that there's this tool that can help. But please, for the love of God, still care about your health, lift weights, become as resilient as you can by adding nutrients in. And if you are like, I can't even eat, I can't even look at a piece of meat because I'm so full, that's a dosing issue. And if your doctor is not willing to like find somebody who will compound it for you if you're in an insurance situation where they're like, well, sorry, you now have to bump to 5, like instead of being at, you might see great results at 1 or 1.5 and not need to titrate and not have all these side effects. And like, great, now I can eat some protein and I can eat some fruits and vegetables and like actually nourish my body. There's multiple issues that are going on within this one tool that's happening. And again, I think the tool is incredible for people who need it. Incredible. And I've seen people who I'm like, I know they're on it based on the speed at which they've lost weight and they are healthier for it and they're moving around and they're active and they're like, that's wonderful when that's happening. And that should be the goal.
Yeah. And not to mention the psychological side of obesity that I've seen. We've all seen it in some capacity, but I'm thinking about the obese patient that would come in and like can't even get out of their chair onto the table for me to like do their exam. So there's like the lack of mobility that I think is not hard to come back from. People do it all the time, but it makes it so much harder. You can reverse most of those comorbidities that arise through obesity, which is, thank God, right? But that psychological component, I've seen people so frustrated and so defeated, and it's like obviously another major health impact. So anyway.
No, but use the momentum. Like, I agree. Yeah. I think that that's horribly, like, I can't imagine even just having gestational diabetes and being like, well, the diabetes now cause sugar cravings. I swear to you, it's a snowball effect because I never had sugar cravings before. And then, okay, now that I'm eating more sugar, now I have more, like it's a cycle. So if you're really obese, your challenge psychologically to overcome that is harder than mine. Like it is. Use the GLP-1s as that snowball effect, right? You start to feel a little bit better. You start to have less weight on your knees. You start to use that as motivation that, wow, now I can go exercise. Whereas I physically couldn't like get up the gumption to get off the couch before. Now I'm able to. Awesome. Harness that to live life to the fullest and really take care of your body. I think it's a great starting point in that way. Like a lot of times it can be the inertia that somebody needs to get going.
Yep. 100% in so many ways. Here's a hot take. Are we ready for this one? Does knowing your labs improve your health outcomes? I know that our answers are actually, I don't know. I think our answers are going to be different.
For sure. They're the same. But you think they're going to be different? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I don't think anybody needs their labs. I think we just need to live healthier, guys.
See,
also, I love having my labs. I like seeing it because I think this can be a mental thing also. When I see it, like if I look at my GI map and I'm like, oh my gosh, my gut immunity is trash and this and this and this, I really actually need to change my behaviors or this is only going to continue to spiral, right? I'm watching my insulin and you guys, I'm a picture of health, honestly, at this point. I still don't sleep enough, but I have really done a lot of work over the last couple of years where I was talking about this for a while after having my second child where my insulin was climbing year over year. It is steady coming down year over year now. And that is a lot of that is because of gut work that I had done, like protocols and eliminating things that are stressors for my own body. But anyway, for me, it is nice to see it because then I'm like, ooh, I need to prioritize. I need to bump this healing up on the priority list because I could happily go on with these sort of yucky symptoms and I could live like this. But once I see it on paper, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. So I do think it's helpful in that way. But the thing that actually improves the health outcomes is you have to change your action. If you just order your labs and then do nothing with them, then nothing's going to change. And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't order labs for people who are not clients of ours for coaching. That's why if somebody else orders your labs and you send it to me, I'm going to be like, well, what did that provider tell you to do? Because that person should be able to manage your protocol also. Because if somebody's just slinging labs with no next steps or follow-ups, like the information is only good as whatever the plan is that's attached to it for helping to solve the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are certain cases where, sure, and this answer would have been different several years ago, by the way. I think that in the context of a lot of the things that we help women with, I think when something has progressed to a certain point, absolutely, you can just pull it back, simplify, lift weights. But I often think that we are biased in the level of education that we carry for ourselves and the way that we manage health, whereas other women think healthy is eating 1,200 calories. Other women think healthy is working out 6 days a week, right? So like it's so relative to the person and their knowledge, but also having seen women with MCAS who try to, putting this in air quotes, detox, and they have these major flare-ups and they like can't function in their life, or women who have horrible inflammation and gut dysbiosis to where they're reactive to all these foods. Like, I don't know that I would feel the same way had I not personally lived it and labs gave me that context. Like, I think there's a major psychological component to labs that move health forward, which is why I think there's value in them, to get validation on what you're feeling, to get an answer and put a name to the face, right? Essentially. So I don't think it's necessarily required, but I do think it can speed things up with a more targeted approach where you could simplify, but it might actually take longer to reach full healing process. And it's not, supplements aren't always needed at the end of the day, but they can significantly speed that process up.
I think it depends on the person greatly. And I don't think like if everybody is like, yeah, I want to spend money to get the labs, beautiful. I think it gives you answers. I think psychologically it is helpful. But I also have had women who want to get their labs right off the bat. They get their labs and behaviorally they're still not there enough to do the basics. So then we're throwing a more advanced protocol at them. And it's like we need to be able to layer it in somewhat in terms of habits because they're not equipped to go in hardcore. They can't even stop eating fast food every day yet, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, okay, let's fix the basics a little bit and then let's see what improves. And there still might be these underlying things. And I think in the cases you're talking about, that's your bread and butter. Like that's where you came from. The bodybuilding community, people who have spent years dieting and chasing physique only are our perfect functional clients because you guys know what to do. You're hitting your protein, you're lifting, you're doing all these basics, right? Often there is some underlying thing because you've been running your metabolism into the ground, or there's these other issues that are going on where, okay, now stress is the issue, not on how much protein you're eating, right? So I think it really greatly depends on the person and what their starting place is.
Well, I think again, that labs don't change for anybody, the foundations, right? So correct. Yeah, the starting point for some is teaching the foundations in the context of the lab data
with it. Have. Right.
Yeah. Whereas other people, we can just roll and dive deep into a protocol and grind and get it done. So yeah, I think it's just relative to the person's starting point, but I do think that data there's two sides to it, but a lot of it there is a major psychological component that I think is valuable for women who feel like they've been suffering with debilitating day-to-day symptoms
whatever the thing is. I mean, again, I have the basics down. I know I need to improve my sleep, but I got a GI map within the last 6 months and I'm doing a protocol. I'm in the repair phase of a gut protocol right now. It's a world of a difference in terms of like, I have historically pretty bad insomnia. I am falling asleep well. I'm sleeping through the night. I don't have like gas and bloat issues as much. So again, it's like you can do the basics, but then if there's still underlying stuff, yes, it helps. But the question, does knowing your labs actually improve the outcomes? No, doing the inputs improves the outcomes. Now, the protocol may be more specific and quicker to get there if we have the labs.
This is going to be an easy one. Should every woman spend 1 year intentionally building muscle before pursuing fat loss?
Duh. Yes, they all should. And all of you don't want to. And 3 months in, I'll be like, well, can we just spend another 3 months building? Because especially if you are somebody who is already fairly lean, like you're not obese, you don't have excess body fat to lose, and you're like, oh, I'm freaking out because the scale's a little higher. I need to go into a deficit sooner. You are just like cutting your results in half by going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth versus like spending a solid year building. You're going to improve your metabolism. You're going to put on muscle that actually is visible aesthetically to other people. If you're dipping your toe in the water of building just enough to go back to your fat loss phase over the course of a year, you're not going to see as significant of change as if you built for even 9 months and then just cut for 3 months at the end. You'll see better physical outcomes, but also health outcomes from spending more time not dieting. Like dieting is a stressor on your system, and everybody's dieting way too much. We need to be spending most of our time nourishing and getting strong. And then when you want to lean out, you diet for, 3 months. But then the other like year or two, don't diet. And watch how much better your metabolism will respond like the first time you ever dieted, where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know why diets don't work anymore. It's because you're doing them all the time. It's now your new norm.
Yeah. I was going to ask a part 2 of would outcomes improve if this was the standard. And obviously I agree with everything that you said. I think it's funny. We've had people say like, I feel like you're just trying to like, are you trying to drag things out to make me coach longer? And I'm like, no, I'm literally making this so much easier for you. I think this would actually significantly shorten the runway to get your result by doing this first.
Also, how many fat loss coaches have you hired in the past who immediately put you in a deficit and you're still coming back to hire us? So like clearly doing the diet over and over and over again has not worked for you. So like, why do you think it's going to work this time? You're hiring us just to go into a diet. Guess what? You know how to go into a diet. You've done it a million times. You know what you haven't done? You haven't actually spent time putting on muscle and learning how to maintain at your weight in a healthy way where you can build a relationship with food and your body again and have cognitive health and energy and like all of those things. You've never done those before, but you're over here itching for me to put you in a diet. You already know how to do a diet. Hire me for the stuff you don't know how to do yet.
Yeah. Also, I don't think they know how to diet. I think they know how to diet.
I agree with that also. Yeah. But it's unsustainable. They're not actually losing weight because they're not actually, I feel like I'm talking very condescending right now. I'm fired up about this stuff.
I think
I love you all so much because I've seen it work for people. And I've also seen the suffering that women go through putting themselves through these cycles over and over and over again. I'm very passionate about it because I don't want women to have to suffer through these cycles that are ultimately unhealthy for them mentally and physically. Not because I am judging one woman who is in the cycle. Again, I work with women every single day who are in this cycle deep, and it is a tough thing to unwind. We've been conditioned for years and years and years and years to diet or that weighing less equals healthier. It's going to take time to unwind one little win at a time. Like just because we're educating on this doesn't mean I expect you to just go embody it tomorrow, right? It takes so much time. And again, I am not judging that at all. But as an outsider, I just am so passionate about saying, hey, there's a better way. You can feel good. You really can feel good. Okay, that's all. I just don't want anybody feeling like judged at all if you're in this cycle.
Yeah. Okay, is motivation overrated? Or if motivation disappeared from the world tomorrow, can we still get the best health outcomes? My answer, duh. Motivation's irrelevant. I think we can leverage motivation when it is there. Cool. Let's ride
when it strikes, work out a little harder, lift a little heavier.
Yeah.
And you can curate motivation too. If you're having a tough time getting back in the gear, buy yourself some new sneakers, listen to your most hyped song. Sure, we can curate it a little bit, but that's not what gets results. What gets results is systems and inputs. Even on the days I don't feel like it, I go to the gym at least twice a week because that's part of my mental health and physical health maintenance routine, right? Just like brushing my teeth is part of my daily routine to avoid cavities, exercise is my daily routine to keep my physical body healthy, right? So if you want the outcomes, come up with a system and do the inputs. Same with the food. Like if we think the only point of eating is for pleasure, you're going to be sorely disappointed in terms of your outcomes. You need to just sometimes eat for health. And again, I love eating for pleasure. I am a foodie through and through. But many of my meals are for nourishment because I don't want the outcomes associated with only eating for pleasure or I will be sick.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, you can use motivation when it's there, but also having discipline doesn't mean you just are expected to be perfect from day one. Like we have clients where they get an average of 3,000 or 4,000 steps in a day. And we're not like, listen, 10K, figure it the fuck out, right? We're like, how about you park at the back of the parking lot instead of the front of the parking lot at work? How about you do the same at the grocery store? Can you do a 5-minute walk after you eat lunch, right? I have a client she's always like, how do I get creative with this? Because I don't want steps to feel like a chore. I don't want this big, overwhelming feeling of like, oh, I didn't hit my goal again at the end of the day. So she eats her lunch outside to get extra sunshine, and then she does laps around her office after, or she goes for a walk outside after lunch, and then through certain intervals of the day, she gets up and moves her body and walks and does laps around her office to get extra steps in. So she now has created a goal for herself where if my daily step goal is, let's say 9K, I'm going to hit X number of steps before I leave work. So she's created these mini goals for herself throughout the day to hit that number. And we didn't jump up a ton right away. It was gradual. So the systems develop and evolve over time as you are consistent with them and you execute, but you have to just execute at a certain point. And even if that's one workout a week, a 20-minute lift, a 5-minute walk, whatever it is, stick to it endlessly, make it super easy for you to do. And then that's going to develop and get easier and easier for you to adopt the next level of what you're trying to execute. But if you try to, again, putting this in air quotes, have discipline with 4 workouts a week, 10K steps, gallon of water, 150 protein, and XYZ calorie goal, and you don't do that normally or have a standard, you're going to burn out.
We wouldn't ever recommend that program for somebody, right? Also, I think we covered this extensively. Like one of our earlier episodes was about red flags in coaches. Like if you're hiring a coach, what to look for. Something I would avoid is a coach who prides themselves on helping keep clients motivated. I'm their accountability buddy. Like a really good coach is educating you and helping you come up with systems and meeting you where you are, like Jill just said, right? But if you're relying on that person as your source of motivation, what's the end game? You need to be with this person for the rest of your life? Like what happens when you don't want to have a coach by your side all the time, right? I experienced this a lot when I was training in person because people would be like I would go on vacation and I would write my clients' plans and then I would be like, they didn't even know what that exercise was called. Even though I wrote them the whole plan, because they haven't been paying attention when I'm here coaching them in person. When I'm training them in person, they're just mindlessly going through the motions. So then I started being more intentional with, hey, show me what this move is. Because I'm like, I want you to not need me someday in your life, please. Like that's a big goal.
Yep, absolutely. Are high achieving women harder or easier to coach? Listen, they're harder.
Well, I think it depends. They're harder because they overanalyze every single thing. And it's like, again, hello, you hired me as the expert in this thing. And you're coming in with, well, I watched this YouTube video about this. And then I saw this on TikTok. And then I'm like, you're like assigning causation to all these different factors from all over versus like, hello, let me do my job and you follow the plan and I guarantee you'll get outcomes. And then you can sit back and be like, oh, snap, it was way simpler than I was making it. Like again, I think with high achieving women, the information abundance becomes a problem where I'm like, I wish you could turn off everything and only let's just do our coaching every week and see what happens because you're going to get better outcomes.
I also think they come from executing to a fault, right? So they are like, oh yeah, I need to diet. So it's always an extreme when they're in that like high achiever mindset and they think everything needs to be perfect. Whereas the flexibility that we tend to give clients through the process almost feels more uncomfortable. Like they're like, give me more parameters. And we're like, no, that's literally the point.
But I actually love that. For me, is that harder or easier to coach? to me, that's not harder to coach. It's just a different challenge. Like it's a fun challenge. That population, I think it's fun when they celebrate the fact that, like, are you kidding me? I didn't track at all last week and I didn't gain weight and I feel good and I was able to enjoy time with my family. And I'm like, yeah, that's how your life could be in the future all the time.
I think it's the
I
most fun and
thoroughly
rewarding
love
too.
that.
Yeah, to like have
I
to
thoroughly
scale
love that.
somebody back versus ramp them up is really like next level. Like,
It's rewarding for them to see that, like, wait, you have me doing less exercise and I'm getting better outcomes and now I don't have to do this thing just to maintain a scale weight. And I'm like, yeah, you like we just need to be more effective with it instead of being
but
more
I think on the
hardcore.
front end tend to like overanalyze and be more
They think,
hyper
yeah,
self-critical. But then when we give them the data, it's easier to like logic our way through because
correct, because they're
they
data driven
appreciate
people.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's often pushback of like, this isn't hard enough, or I used to do this other thing. And I'm like, again, why are you here if that worked for you for so long? Right. It didn't. And then, I will educate as I go. I'm not just giving pushback like that. Right. Like, here's why I want you to do this, or
Yes.
here's the reason. But again, a lot of times for that particular population, it's a do less, but do it more effectively thing, or like, hey, I don't need your workout to feel sweaty and your heart rate to be high every single workout. I need every set to be as hard as possible. Can you do that for me? And then after a couple workouts, when they feel it, they're like, oh, like this is what, but it's like, I have to show them for themselves or they won't believe us. Whereas with the people who are, I don't want to say not high achieving, but with people who tend to be more sedentary or they know that they overeat and that's their, like the general American population type
Yeah.
profile, they know they need to move more and eat a little healthier, right? So we're coming in and we're already aligned in terms of our what the action that needs to be taken. And now it's a matter of, okay, how can we create these systems to make it easier on you? With this other group, we're re-educating them because they think they're doing the right things. And a lot of what they're doing is actually holding them back.
Yeah, 100%. Would clients get better results if they stopped consuming health content for the next 6 months?
Better results if they stop. Okay, if they have a coach, yeah. Like if it's a client, oh yeah, you said with clients. If it's a client of mine, absolutely, please stop. Like all I do is consume health content and actually go through courses and read the research on it, not just things that people pick to spew on the internet to polarize everybody. Yes, they would 1,000% get better results because they wouldn't be chasing all these little random. We always say like, don't step over dollars to pick up pennies. Like I sometimes tell our coaches, like, help your clients keep their horse blinders on. Like, what are the most important one or two things? Because that's what we needed them to execute relentlessly. And then when they become normal, now let's add another thing or two. Because with all of the information on the internet and the health content and everything, they're chasing little butterflies around on the baseball field. And you're like, hello, just look at the batter. Like you're looking at all these things that are irrelevant to your particular scenario. And you're trying to make it relevant to you because you heard it from an influencer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think clients would get better results because they could just, like, to your point, focus on what they're doing and what applies to them. It happens all
And
the
that's our
time.
job as coaches.
Yeah, we
is
have to redirect them all the time from things
Yeah.
that they consume.
Even when it's like their medical doctors. We have some really great examples where we collaborate with medical doctors. There's other times where the medical doctor does not know what they're talking about. And the client is like, I don't know if I should do this because my doctor said I need to increase my thyroid medication. And we're like, oh, show us your thyroid panel. And they're like, well, my doctor only ran my TSH. And we're like, that doctor, like, what do you mean they're increasing this one thyroid medication, but they don't even know what your free T3 or free T4 are? Like, so we're trying to then educate the client to then educate the doctor, or at least ask the doctor challenging questions to see if they're on the right path, because they're getting conflicting information from two different health professionals. But the health professionals are not, one, they're not educated in the thing that they're doing, or they're not staying in their lane. Like, I want to stay in my lane and collaborate with that doctor so that we can be a team for this person.
Yep. I think that if general population, non-clients stopped consuming health content, and they redirected that energy effectively to just eating whole foods and moving their body
And lifting
getting out in
weights
sunshine
and
lifting
sleeping.
weights, then they would be also
The whole world
much
would be
better
healthier
off.
if we did
Yeah.
that.
Last one for today. I think this is my favorite question. Is healing the new form of dieting?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, yes. End of discussion.
Well, I think yes. And you're like, well, get us more labs because the labs give us information. So here's the thing is I think all of us are more dysregulated and we do have more stuff hormonally or gut wise or whatever that will pop up on labs because the basics aren't there in place as a society. I think I don't know. I guess I'm mixed on it. I think yes, for the high achieving woman, right? Like the high achieving woman then nitpicks everything on their labs. And I'm like, dude, we have improved 80% of your symptoms. Now, can we just ease off of you wanting to do another protocol and get more tests and more tests and more tests? Like health optimization or like longevity optimization, all this stuff is super sexy right now. And how can I biohack my way to perfect everything? Also, like you're adding so much stress to your life trying to be perfect. Can you just like chill and nourish your body? And maybe we practice not doing a protocol so you can just live your life for a little bit and be present with your kids and like play outside sometimes versus obsessing on the internet over the next health optimization thing. And I feel like that's the dieting thing before was like, how can I get smaller, 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 smaller? And now it's like, okay, well, I was bloated this one day of this month. I must need another lab. And it's like, well, maybe you just sometimes are a little bit like we can all go through little fluctuations based on our day-to-day changes. Again, if you're 70 or 80% improved in your symptoms, is it worth it for you to keep going down these rabbit holes?
Yeah. Yeah. I think going back to the question we asked earlier of like, are people more stressed, less resilient? Obviously, we know it's a combination. So I do think there is an increase in health problems. But the other thing is that I think is a good thing through social media is that there's more awareness and there's more, again, putting a name to what I'm feeling and less normalization of not feeling good. We still have to own what's leading us down this path of not feeling good, right? Our own inputs or lack thereof. But I think the added awareness is really good because I hate when people are like, oh, we didn't have this when we were kids. Okay, Susan, but like you didn't feel good. You just normalized a lower standard for yourself. And I don't think this generation's willing to do that. We want a good quality of life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I do think healing is more mainstream, but as long as
healing is healthier than dieting.
That's what I was going to say.
Healing is healthier than dieting, right? Like a lot of that, what you just said about there being more information on social media and stuff. There's so many women who are like, hey, nourish your body, lift some weights, get out in the sunshine. And again, maybe that's just my algorithm versus somebody else's, but like, that's amazing advice. If everybody starts to do that more and sleep more and turn off their screens more, they actually will heal. I'm talking about like the hyper fixation on needing optimization, right? Definitely. If your pursuit is healing, hell yeah, you're going to be healthier than if your pursuit was dieting.
Absolutely. So hope that was helpful. If you guys have questions that you want answers to, please share. We would love to add them to this list. I love a good pot stirring moment, and Jess loves to add her new.
Clearly, I just get all fired up immediately. I don't know why I tie my emotional energy to every single question, but I can't help it.
It's okay. We love that about you. But submit your questions if you have specific ones that you want us to cover. And that's all for this episode, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.